Hello, everybody, and welcome to the vOLTHA TST meeting. Thanks for joining. As usual, the call is public and recorded and will be shared on YouTube, so please be mindful of the comments you make and the information you share with the group. First up, just a mention, tomorrow from 6 to 7 Pacific Standard, Central European Time, so 9 to 10 Pacific Standard. I will be holding a webinar on the 2.7 release. And if you want to register, this is it. Most of you guys already know what I'm going to talk about, but please forward it internally to any company member that is interested in seeing what we achieved in the 2.7 release in a half an hour and ask some questions. So that was just a thing. Also an update here from David mainly. He submitted all the patches for the move to Golang 1.16. So that is already merged inside the code base. There is one small issue that we will work on, which is publishing the profile and race condition enabled images for the vOLTHA core. There has been a little issue there, but I have a patch that fixes it. I'll work with David tomorrow. He's on PTO today on this. But the good news is that with this move, we are more safe in terms of LTS because Golang will be supported for a longer period of time. So that's that. On the next topic, which is the substitution of Kafka to Grpc, I have spoken and most of some of you were on the call with the operators right now, just before this call, and the decision was not to have this in 2.8. And the reasoning behind that was that requires a lot of testing. And possibly bug fixes, especially at scale. And and also both operators mentioned that they do not see any issue with Kafka at the moment in their deployment. And it would also incur into a lot of changes in the Helm charts and deployment processes.
And other adapters.
Yes, and other adapters. I was just coming to that. Thanks, Surf. And all said and done, having this in the 2.8 release could prove detrimental to the 2.8 roadmap that with the operators we have put together, and might put in jeopardy the capability of actually releasing 2.8 in June, which is the target we have. Thus, while they all recognize this is a great change and it's very valuable to have it in, we decided to postpone it after 2.8, most likely, possibly, maybe 2.9. We do recognize that that might put us a little bit of a more burden down the line in backporting bug fixes. But the way we have structured the code, this is a change mostly happening in the vOLTHA Go. And while there is true that there are changes happening in the adapters, most of that changes regard the communication and thus are not impacting really where the bugs are going to be, which is the logic and the main brain of the code in other parts of the different services. So that's the decision. I will work with Ken on this and communicate this decision to him and see what are the next steps there for him to take. But that was what we decided. Any questions on this? No? Okay, no questions. Good. Next topic that I had for today is that during the next week, we have finally reached conclusion on all the items that were outstanding in the migration of the bandwidth profile to MEF versus IETF definition and support for the 5 TCON types. The changes that I've outlined here include both of these elements and are ready to be merged pending some rebase. What is still missing is the capability of testing this. So I will work with Hardik and the ONF team to test this. In practice, you could see no change because the changes are backwards compatible, meaning that we should have the capability of just not touch any of our tests and have this working. But given that Deutsche Telekom would like to use the new format, the IETF format that of the bandwidth profile definition, I would like to change the Deutsche Telekom tests to that. So I will. So all of these patches will give a final round of review, some hardware tests and functional tests, and some combined tests, and then we will go ahead and merge them. Is there any questions on this topic? No? Okay, then please do take a look at the patches and comment if you see anything there that is not okay with you. If not, I will take that everybody is assuming that these are okay with him, and I will take the necessary steps with the team to test them and put them into the upstream code base. And one of the features for the 2.8 release is going to be done. Okay. Let me actually switch around these two topics. So first of all, I want to talk about the multi-uni support. This is a very important topic that is needed for the 2.8 release. Maybe Mahir, given that you started the document, do you want to give us an overview of this?
Okay, sure.
Thanks, Mahir.
Okay. The multi-UNI support we're talking here is to give the different services for different subscribers in each port of the UNI port of the ONU. I mean, for example, on the first port, UNI port of the ONU, it will be assigned to a different subscriber, and the second one will be assigned to a different subscriber. So the scope is to give different subscriptions to different UNIs. In this document here covers the changes that should be done to the vOLTHA and ONOS application components and also BBSIM. So the application of the multi-UNI frequently is done by combining the same services on different UNIs on same TCONs, because the TCONs in the UNIs or multiple dwelling units are limited. So, for example, in an MDU with 64 ports, UNI ports, you sometimes have 8 or 16 TCONs only, so you have to put some services into the same TCONs. So it's widely observed that these same service types, for example, say the vote services of the different subscribers are combined and in a single TCON. So in this case, in ONOS applications, we need to make some changes to apply the correct bit profiles. In ONU side, Currently, we are actually applying speed profiles to ONUs and to OLTs. So in ONU side, it's applied to gem ports. So it's unique for each service of each subscriber. But in OLT side, we are applying the speed profile, especially the upstream speed profile to TCONs. This means that we should apply different bandwidth profiles or different limits to ONU and OLT. As the example in this document, for example, if we have, say, 25 megabit upload limits for a service of a subscriber, and if we put the same service of different subscribers on the same TCON, then we need the bandwidth limit of 25 megabits on ONU side, but at least 50 megabits on OLT side. So the OLT bandwidth profile, upstream bandwidth profile, should be the sum of the services that put into the same TCON. But it's widely in operator side. It's not a dynamic increase on the TCON speed profiles, but they apply a big value to the TCONs only one time when the first service is applied to the TCON. So in order to say achieve this, we propose a change in studies say definitions, because we have only one bandwidth profile definition for upstream and one for downstream, and the upstream one is applied to both to the ONU and OLT, and the upstream also applied both to OLT and ONU. But we propose to split this upstream and downstream bandwidth profiles to OLT and ONU upstream and downstream profiles. So it will add a capability of defining different bandwidth profiles for OLT and ONUs on the application level. I mean, on vOLT application, SDN controller application. So this is the proposed change for the SADIS and the vOLT application. Can we go a bit down? Yeah. For the change in vOLTHA, we don't expect any change in RV core because it's already, I mean, have the capability of defining multiple UNIs. In OLT adapter side, we think that the feature is also covered in OLT adapter. And if we send the correct bandwidth profile to the OLT adapter from the SDN controller application from vOLT, then it will apply the correct bandwidth profile to the flow. So there wouldn't be any change in the OLT adapter, and OLT adapter also capable of, I mean, say defining multiple UNIs in the code. So I think there shouldn't be any change in the OLT adapter, but we will, of course, check in the test. Perhaps we can find some bugs or not implemented parts. There are big changes in ONU adapter side, I think, but they are mostly about the arranging of entity IDs for different EMIs, because the entity IDs of the same type EMIs should be unique in the ONU. When you give a service to give services to different UNIs, and the same type of EMIs that you created for different UNIs should have their unique IDs. So the code in the ONU adapter is not, I mean, cannot cover this now, currently. And we have to change some entity IDs. And then I won't go over all the formulas here, but the basic idea is here too. Generally in ONO adapter, when creating the entity IDs, we don't create the entity IDs and persist them in any database to use later for ME deletions, restarts, etc. Instead of this, we prefer to create the entity IDs from the attributes that define these MEs. I mean, like if we create the MEs per UNIs, then we create the MEs by using UNI IDs. If we, I mean, this MEs depends on the UNI and the service. We create the ME ID with UNI and technology profile IDs. So during the creation and deletion of the MEs, we use the same formulas to create the correct entity IDs, to use the correct entity IDs. So we preserve the same approach here. So currently we have problem in IE mapper service profile entity ID. This is not unique for the different UNI types. Can we go a bit below? Andrea, yeah. And we also have to arrange the MAC Bridgeport configuration data entity IDs for uniside and uniside. And we also, I think, can you go a bit down, please? Hold down. Andrea, a bit down. Yeah. Here we have some entity ID, proposed entity ID changes. And at here, the key points are we need to define some ranges and limits for technology profiles and UNI IDs. So for creating for assigning a range to each ME or to generate unique IDs, we need to assign some range to technology profiles and the UNIs. So we need to limit the technology profile IDs. As far as I know, the technology profile is already limited between the 64 and 256. So we use the same approach to generate the formula IDs for the entities generated here. And also with the formula defined here, we can define up to 318 UNIs. So I think this is also an acceptable, range for UNIs. So these 2 points are important, and we have to decide on them and know that if we go beyond this range, this entity IDs will not be generated uniquely. So I don't want to go over all of the formulas because it takes too much time. You can check them offline, I think, and give the comments. But the decisions should be on, as I said, the technology profile start and end values. If there's any, any comment on that, and we have to talk on that, basically. So I think there's no comment, so I'm carrying on.
To me, it looks a very good and detailed proposal. I went through it and it seems fine by me. All the changes I think are doable changes. The honest ones don't seem too involved with the apps, especially given that it's a downstream meter and it's not the upstream meter, which we use mostly in the AT&T case for application of the ePOL flow. So it's what you wrote here, it's fine by me. I also see that Michael gave some comments. He is the go-to guy for with Holger for the OpenONU Go adapter. So I think he has also a fairly clear understanding of what needs to be done. But I'd like to open the floor to everybody else to ask any comments or questions.
I mean, the really key one is that, you know, if you really still want to stay with a single uni, that should be doable, and that seems like it should still be, right?
Yeah.
Because other workflows would want to stay to a single uni.
Yeah. It should be backward compatible, and there should not be any change in their workflows or their definitions. The only change that will be applied is the status configuration to split the downstate profiles to two downstate profiles. So it's not a big change, I think.
Also, maybe to keep it backwards compatible, Mahir, what we could do is instead of renaming all the parameters, we could just add the upstream OLT bandwidth profile and the downstream OLT bandwidth profile.
Yeah, okay, maybe, okay. Or we in code, I mean, we can say, we can act to prevent or to be backward compatible. If there is only one, then we can apply this one to both. I mean,
yes,
in code we can take action for the backward compatibility. Yeah.
The main is the rename. So if we don't rename them, we are backwards compatible with even existing like SADS configuration. Okay.
Sounds good. I can change the documents accordingly.
Yeah.
Here we also have some changes in BBSIM side actually. So BBSIM also the big item here, I think, as big as ONO adapter. So thanks, Matteo helped us to form this document for BBSIM side. So I cannot go over it because it's actually the Matteo's points, so I'm not aware with the BBSIM code yet. So, but there are really, I mean, effort in BBSIM side.
Yeah, there's some involvement in BBSIM. It's quite, as Matteo put it, it's not a trivial amount of work.
Yeah, it seems, yeah.
But
and the physical testing hardware, would we need new ONUs now?
So we could use the alphas for multi-uni, right?
In ONF, you mean, or?
Yeah, in ONF.
Okay. So if there are multiple UNIs on alphas?
Yeah, the 5-port alpha would work.
Yeah,
Mahir.
Yeah.
There would be any differences for GPON and XGS-PON between them?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there should be some differences.
Yeah.
So alphas have multi-UNUs, I think, and SACOM probably they are single UNU, I guess.
Yeah. So what that means is that we would have to add a few connections from our alpha ONUs to another port of our servers. And there might be some changes required in our tests to specify the port that we go through when establishing a subscriber and not just the ONU. Hardik, can you help me here? We currently assume it's the first port of the ONU, right?
Yeah, I think that's always been the case.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, for a brief while, when I think Matt from AT&T had activated all the LAN ports, but essentially, as far as I remember it, yeah, there did seem to be multiple UNI ports, right? Do you remember, Mahir, when Matt had done this back with the old Python adapter?
Actually, I don't remember who did. Probably it's Matt, but
Yeah.
he had some jobs done in ONU adapter Python side. Yes, but
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, generally the adapter has the capability, I mean, has the feature of say supporting multiple UNIs. But as I said, the entity IDs that generated for MEs are not correctly generated for multi-UNI case. So we have to correct them actually on. But on Go side, maybe it may be a bit, say, back of the or Python adapter. I don't know. We have to check it also with Mikhail if there are some other issues there or not. These are the ones that I could define and find in the code. So we will see if there are some extra issues there. But basically, I expect ONU adapter to define and to discover the multi-UNIs and activate them now.
But I remember we see all of the UNIs
Yeah, for
if we use the Python.
For discovery, it is as is. Yeah, we can discover it, I think. And the problem is giving the different services to UNIs.
Okay, so I've added a section here, testing requirements, where I've jotted down a couple of bullets. Hardik, if you don't mind, just review these and maybe go into a little bit more detail of what is needed in our robot test.
Yeah, definitely. Sure, I'll do.
Thanks. So one quick question from my side, Mahir. Do you have any of this already implemented?
No, not yet.
Okay. So should I expect?
We will implement.
Go ahead.
We will be, yeah, we will be happy to implement the vOLTHA side, but I think we need help on BBSIM side.
Okay.
On vOLTHA and ONOS applications, we are capable of doing it, but on BBSIM side, we probably need help on BBSIM side, you know.
Okay. And also, I would guess that the testing could be done partially by MRun as well. Am I correct?
I'm not sure about that because he is working with Sujitra and Hardik. I think Sujitra gave the task to him. If yes, this is, then if Sujitra prefer to give this one, if it's the priority one for her, it may be. I mean, as I said the previous meeting, we may inform another resource there perhaps.
That would be amazing. But yes, okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions on this one? No? Okay. So another topic that we add on for today, and maybe we can start taking a look at it, is this is not going on. The our new auto registration configuration. So Serkan, do you mind giving us some thoughts on this, like an initial description of what you're thinking?
Yes, sure. So this proposal is basically about that currently we can switch from one port to another POM port once an ONU plugged into the OLT. And if you want to switch the POM port, first we have to delete it from the vOLTHA system. So probably you may all know when vOLTHA discovers an ONU on a POM port, it as soon as discovers the ONU, it is activated by the vOLTHA. So if you have also northbound system, and if you have a whitelist implementation, you can disable the ONU if it doesn't discover it on the expected POM port, if it is not the expected serial number, so on. But if you don't want that ONU on that port, first you have to delete it. This is fine, but it brings some other complexities, especially for the upper systems, upper OSS systems in the operators. Let's say a field engineer goes to a house and makes a new subscription already sold to a subscriber. If he or she plugs the wrong ONU and realizes that it is the wrong ONU, first it needs to be deleted before inserting the new one. But for the operator, as I said, this might be complicated. There are different people and departments to do that when a subscription is sold to a customer, and also there are different OSS systems inside the operator related with each other. So, for example, if you sold the subscription, and if you want to delete the wrong ONU, you need to go to an intermediate OSS system to delete it, because you cannot basically delete the sale order. So this is complicated by the view of the operator. So Türk Telekom wants to have this, if we plug the ONU to a wrong port, we should be able to switch it seamlessly without touching any OSS system, or without deleting the ONU from the vOLTHA. So this is the problem. Is it clear enough?
It is for me.
Okay, great. So to solve this problem, we propose to add a new API to the vOLTHA northbound site to be able to activate the ONU separately, so that the northbound systems can decide to activate the ONU or not. So when the ONU discovery indication is received, the adapter wouldn't activate the ONU if the auto activation parameter is disabled, and the discovery may go to the northbound system and takes the ONU discovery event and gets the related information, and then northbound system decide if this ONU can be activated or not according to the information got from the discovery, and it can separately activate the ONU, which is in the discovery state. But as I said, currently, as soon as we get the discovery request, we automatically activate the ONU right now in the vOLTHA. So this requires a new API and changes in mainly in the vOLTHA adapter. This would be also a new API for the SEBA RD also. I think this is a fundamental change, by the way. So I want to hear some other folks, what are they thinking about this change? And I am also not sure if this is a correct term when you auto activation. I don't know if probably this is done differently in the legacy systems. Maybe we can change the terms and the name of this document also. But what we heard from the TT, this is not working in the legacy, what we are doing in the vOLTHA. So they are able to change the, switch the POM port of an ONU once it is inserted into an OLT.
So Serkan, so this new API that you're talking about, so that will have to take in the serial number of the ONT, right, which needs an activation. And because most of the existing APIs, they work on the device ID, but in this case, there will not be a device ID already allocated to the ONU, so it has to be on the serial number. Is that the thought?
I didn't think that much. So you say we need the OLT serial number?
No, the ONU serial number, right?
ONU serial number. So I think once we discover the ONU, we have that information and we can send that information to the northbound system. Yes, yeah.
I think the thing here is, I mean, the API is, say, we don't inform the northbound applications with APIs, some API calls. We send an Kafka event here, I think the discovery event, and it includes the serial number of the ONU. And here we also have the device ID given to the ONU ID. So the API will be called by the northbound system to activate, to give the grant to the vOLTHA to activate this device.
I am not sure if we assign a device ID once we discover the ONU, but probably yes, we are assigning so. But I think it could be done both, so we can use this serial number or we can use a device ID, right? For activation.
Right, but if you have device
ID,
ID,
exist at that point, right?
Yeah.
Because the device is not yet created in the vOLTHA core, and So it will be the serial number. So as I had commented on this thing, right? So the same kind of feature in the DT workflow gets implemented in a little different way. In that that in the DT workflow, as soon as the ONU is disconnected, right? So it is deleted from vOLTHA all the time. So typically this problem does not exist.
Oh, once it is disconnected, you delete the
Delete it from
ONU.
vOLTHA.
Yeah.
Delete it only from vOLTHA, not in the upper systems.
So what about the unreachable state then?
No, so as soon as you see either a loss of pawn or a
Uh-huh.
dying gasp, right? So you use the vCore API to call a delete on the ONU. Remove the flows and delete the ONU.
So is this in the vOLTHA core right now? I didn't aware of that.
No, so the vOLTHA core already has the delete API, right? To delete an ONU. That API gets called in the DT workflow whenever an ONU is connected on the pawn.
I see.
Yeah, so typically, and it gets deleted only from vOLTHA, not from the upper layers. So this problem does not arise really.
This might be a good solution also, Mahir. What do you think?
Sorry. I was off a few seconds. I'm not sure. We should work on to treat on workflow, and we should see if it works for us or not.
But I mean, we also sometimes see that we see the loss of signal repeatedly from the ONUs if there is a ranging problem or something.
Yeah.
Don't you think this could be something problematic? I think deleting ONU.
Then you will delete, and that's very frequently. And this deletion things, I mean, they all consume a lot of resource in the system. You know, you delete the resource IDs, create again, etc. So device IDs changes, etc. But I'm not very sure about it. If we can find a solution, I mean, if we come to a decision with this document you have prepared, then I think it's a choice. So we can have this API, we can use this API or the relation API. It's a feature, I mean, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So the requirements for the DT workflow, I think, need that the ONU be deleted each time it goes out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So, but in this case, yes, I agree that you could have a flag and just keep it in the discovered state.
Okay, Andrea, how do you think we should proceed with this? Should we get some other ideas from the other folks? They are not.
So one thing is, well, definitely getting some comments from everybody. That would be good. But also, if you guys could consider the proposition from Amit, that would be fine as well. Because I know that works for the DT workflow. So if it might work for your workflow as well, that could be good, because it would allow us to avoid putting in a new API, and that's already tested within the DT workflow. We could just move the tests to the telecom workflow as well, with the full deletion of the ONU upon LOS of the device. One thing I want you to consider, Sergeant, is what's the relationship with the auto rediscovery of the ONU? because at the moment there are known issues. Well, it was never a problem because nobody actually requested this feature, but we know that there are some known issues where the ONU is actually connected on the pawn, and you do a delete and a rediscover encounters in some issues. So I don't remember exact details. There was some time back we did this analysis, but just maybe please take a look at that test. And you can also ping Hardik, who wrote the test, and maybe it's related to what you're doing. So as next steps, what I would do is, if for everybody, take a look at the document and check out what Serkan put together and see if you have other thoughts and other possible solutions for what his problem is, or if his solution is good for you. But for you guys at NetCenter Telecom, what I would do is consider the option from Amit, and also look at this test if there is some relationship, and then we can go ahead and discuss more on this. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Let's do this. We will check in on our side if we can use the delayed APIs as Amit mentioned. Then on the other side, in parallel, let's finalize this document and collect the comments. Then we can, act accordingly. If this is not a high priority issue for us now, because we may end up with delayed APIs. So if we decide that we cannot do it with delayed APIs, then the document will be ready to implement it. Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, so that was all I had for today in terms of topics. But let me open up the floor to everybody on things that they might want to bring up before we close the group, the call.
I have an issue, Andre.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not an issue, but to remind something. We have to return to the discussion about the storage, because it's a big change, and we should start to discuss and finalize the discussion and start implementation as soon as possible.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So there, we still have at ONF to test the changes that you guys submitted. So that has not been done because we were occupied with the release, and we did not do that. So my plan is to start that as soon as possible within ONF, so that we can report some of the tests there. And there was also the discussion on the strongly consistent stuff that was not finalized. And there was also an update from David that sent us some new changes that went into our Helm chart for etcd that might give us something. So again, we at ONF need to put some effort into this before we can come back to that. So there are some moving pieces that we need to focalize at ONF, and we need to get a grasp on precisely before we can come back and say, okay, these are our results, and this would be our suggestion. Before we can do that, we need to get some understanding of the current status of things within ONF based on the data that we have and the discussion we already had. Does that make sense, Maria?
Yeah, of course. If any help needed, we can do anything.
Absolutely.
Please do not hesitate to. Okay.
Okay, good. So the other thing I maybe wanted to bring up is that today during the operator TST call, given that we have 5 minutes, we came up with a final set of items that need to go into 2.8 for the release to be called LTS. So these items have been agreed upon by the operators and are the ones that are going to be done, hopefully, in 2.8. And 2.8 is targeted at the end of June. I'm just gonna post them here in the document that you guys are seeing. And I'll make a more official 2.8 roadmap document, better formatted and everything. But these are the elements. Sorry, again, bad format. But the idea is that these are the topics. And as most of these here, everybody knows about what they are. For those of you who don't have some context, for example, in what exactly the OpenONU Go needs to do, that's a document. What exactly the OAM capabilities need to be added, that's a document still under discussion with the folks at Deutsche Telekom. And guys, if you have anything from Netzetwerk Telecom, please add it there. As you mentioned, Mahir, the storage and resolution, HA persistency stuff, all the T content, the technology profile, and the MEF versus IETF, the multi-uni support we talked about, and possibly the full-scale test and a hardware test for the Mac learning of Third Telecom. So these are the elements that need to go into the 8. Again, I'm just going to leave them here. I don't expect any discussion because this is the current roadmap. If anybody else is interested in working on something else, it's okay, but that's not going to be a blocker for the release. This is what we're going to work on as ONF, the community, and that's the target for 2.8. Again, release date June 30th, code freeze around June 16th, give or take. I have not yet looked at the exact dates, depending also on final feature that need to go in. That's the target. Hopefully we don't slip, but we do want this in before we cut 2.8, and before we cut 2.8, because 2.8 is going to be an LTS release. So that's the goal. Any rough questions around this? Okay, then if not, thanks everybody for joining. Let's take the action items that we know that we have over here, and let's talk again next time. Thanks a lot. Cheers, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.